Hello, good evening. It's Erin Tracy, and tonight I'm doing a Q&A session. Hopefully you knew that if you follow me because you got an email from me or you saw it on Facebook or LinkedIn. And the Q&A has the original intention of answering any questions about a program that I've just started, which I'll tell you a little bit about in just a moment. Also, the intention is if you have any questions about anything, any ways that I work and that I serve folks to be empowered out of anxiety and along with that, chronic overwhelm, chronic conditions. So we can we can handle those questions as well. And the way you will ask them is I'm hoping that I have this streamed in a couple of different places, but I should be able to see your comments, your questions. And some people sent some questions beforehand. So I have those. I know when I've done these lives before, this is a busy time of day for us, particularly the East Coast. So I'll answer the questions for the people that sent them in and answer your questions as well if I see any on the screen. And then what I'm hoping, also part of the intention of this hour, 55 minutes or so, is to send some medical Qi Gong healing, a small adjustment. It won't be anything major. And plus, the idea is that even if you're listening to this afterwards, the energy is still there. And that may sound completely cuckoo to you, that could be. And I'll just invite you to suspend disbelief and just take it as a meditative practice, that stuff that we might do towards the end. So let me close up the screen that I don't get distracted. So what I wanted to do to start out is to just give you a very quick overview of the program that I just mentioned. But I actually don't want to talk a lot about the specifics of that because you can read about it. And there is a link, should be a link everywhere that you can see this video where you can go over and read about the program and what it entails. But very quickly, the idea is that this is a short intensive program. So instead of the usual way that I've been working with people the last few years has been an intensive situation, group program, about 3 to 4 months. And I still have that. I've put it's a slightly on hold, or it has been on hold. It's still active, but I noticed that there seemed to be a group of people that I could serve in this way. And that way is this 4-week program that I wanted to see if you had any questions about tonight. The cost for that program is $750. It includes 4 to 5 group sessions that we'll do at the same time on Wednesday evenings. All of those sessions are recorded and you can submit anything you have from me beforehand. For the years that I've been doing this works really well, even if this is not a good time for you all the time or never, you can still participate by letting me know what's going on with you. And these sessions are coaching and healing sessions. And what I have found is the reason that by the way, let me tell you the rest of it. So there are also 2 one-on-one sessions in this program in that month period. And that gives us a chance to really hone in. It gives me a chance to know what it is privately, what you're really working with, what has been a challenge for you in ending your anxiety or having relief from your anxiety, anger, resentment, rage or panic that has really been impacting your life. For this short time in the program, there are some content modules, we'll call them, that are pre-recorded that you'll have as well to support what we're doing, sort of explain why we're doing it a little bit more. Also part of the program, you will learn the foundational practice that I speak about and write about a lot, which is the moving form, Pangu, Shanggong, Qi Gong. And I'm going to talk a bit about more about what Qi Gong is and why it's so important and why this particular form that I'm such a fan of and I'm certified to teach levels 1 and 2, why I use this form. I don't, there are other forms of Qi Gong out there and I'll speak about that in a moment. And if they're working for you, great. If you practice Qi Gong and it's not moving your ball, not moving your needle, perhaps another method might be time to try. So in the group program, we have the group one-on-one hybrid. We have the sessions with the group, and I'll explain why we do that, and the one-on-one time. The cool thing is if you register for this program by the end of the week, it's Saturday or Sunday, I can't remember, I'm including an extra one-on-one session. It's sort of an experiment to see it. And my idea was the first 10 people who did that, and I have, I think they're, right now in this current thing, I think I have 7 more spaces for those. We're going to see. Maybe I'll just give it to everyone who registers by Sunday. I want to be sure that I can serve everyone. So this is an experiment. This part of it is an experiment, how to schedule that. And, I trust the guidance that came to me to offer it this way. So let's see what happens. The other thing that is an experiment for the initial stages of offering this program is I'm giving the people in the program access to me 5 days a week, or all the time if you like, but I may not always respond on the weekends, using an app that allows you to text me or voice me so that I can know what's going on with you. So I know immediately where you are running into some roadblocks or you're stuck. And I can often send you something back pretty quickly to help you with the interrupt of that. And I'm going to explain about the interrupt. I don't want to forget to explain about the interrupt because it's such a big part of healing, being able to do that. So that is, in a nutshell, what the program is and what the incentive is to join in this initial stage of it because of the extra session. And I'm experimenting with allowing that access, even when we're not having session together, using the text. I've done that in the intensive program, that the program that's 3-4 months long, and it's worked well. People, of course, it's not intended to be a session. It's intended to be short and sweet and powerful help on the spot, support on the spot. I prefer that word, support over help. So enough about the details. You can read more about it in the link. Some folks, I used to not have a group program. I used to just work one-on-one. And it was lovely. It was very lovely. And what I have found is, one, I can serve more people in a group setting. But the coolest thing, like the most powerful thing about the group, is that the people in the group get to have a community. And it allows you all to see that you're not alone. And oftentimes what people share, and people are very respectful about how they share. It isn't necessary to go into a lot of story. And in fact, I'll encourage you to stay out of story while we're in the group and just get to what's the main core here. And I will assist you in doing that. And the folks who have come through this, and over the years it's evolved a bit, but especially in the last 18 months, I have asked, would you prefer this to have been all one-on-one? And 100% of those folks say, no, actually, I get a lot out of the space that's held by being with a group of people who are working on the same thing. And what all of you have in common, the ones who I'm working with now, are that you are experiencing anxiety, overwhelm. It often looks like a lot of irritation, resentment, anger. Sometimes sadness is part of it. And the things that you have tried to address it have not worked. Further, and you have tried to address it. You have looked at things, either therapy, medications, supplements, spiritual guidance, and you have a lot of knowledge, and you maybe have a lot of insight as to what's behind those patterns, and still they persist. And absolutely, you're in good company, and absolutely that can change. And the way it changes, and when we get to this interrupt place, we need to have powerful and effective, compassionate, graceful ways of interrupting those patterns. So if you know that, if you remember from your physics class or your physical science class, that energy is in waves, and we can track it in waves with different dimensions. And it's the same with the energy in us, the patterns that we have with other people. And when we have ways of interrupting that, reprogramming that. I know Western therapy uses that word. They even know many Western therapy techniques, which a lot of people have a lot of wonderful success with, and that is great. That is great. If that is working for you, keep doing it. And if you've gotten to a place where you're plateauing, or it didn't work, some of these, especially methods of overcoming trauma. Some of those methods work really well for some sorts of people, and what has happened. And other times there's something else is needed. So the interrupt is really important, and that's what I was saying before. When you have support to interrupt that on the spot, you can begin to see real healing happen, and healing that stays, which is something that I'm very led to assisting others with. So I'm hoping that I'm not missing any comments. I don't think so. So I wanted to answer questions that I had generally about the way that I work and what my tools are. And I don't see my notes. 1 second. There they are. Okay. So most of you know, if you've been following me, that I am certified by my teacher, Master Owen Way. He's one of my teachers. I study the work of many people, or a handful of people, we'll say. And I have found that the work of the teachers is quite complementary. Works very well together, and many of them would say they would agree with each other, quote unquote agree. And I feel like one of the gifts that I have in working with people is making that stuff accessible, whether it be through a coaching strategy or through spiritual guidance or by the movement of your own internal energy. So most of you have read things that I've written. I'm trying a new method of making it more clear about what I do. So we have an energy inside of us, a life force, and this is the energy that supports our immune system, our metabolism. It's what allows all of the organs of the body to work together, or not work together if we don't have enough of it or it's out of balance. We must have it, and you all have it. Everybody has it if you're alive. The more of it you have, though, and the higher quality it is, the more resilient you can be to the things that happen. So the things that irritate you, the things that cause anxiety, when an emotional state stays that's not so pleasant, it can be an indication that your chi is low. When an event happens, even a highly traumatic event, there is a recovery from that. And we all have it within us to recover. Sometimes, though, that experience has seeped in, and what I'm offering to you, and again, suspend disbelief, if this is not your usual way of thinking, is that that's not all in the mind. It can also be in the body somewhere, and we can move it. And in fact, I'm super excited because there are some Western therapy techniques that are beginning to look at this, to look at where we feel emotion in the body. And I'm sure you're familiar with neck pain and back pain, and they seem to be a little worse when we're a little more ratcheted up. Maybe it's not just because you sit funny. Throwing that out there. So it's very important to have enough chi so that any method that you try to gain more peace in your life, better health, better relationships, that method actually does something for you, that doesn't just let you feel better for the afternoon. Acupuncture is wonderful. I did acupuncture for a number of years, and I felt better after acupuncture. Over time, I didn't really feel like I was getting better. And while I could see progress, some of the scariest stuff that was going on with my health was not getting better. And this was because I was so depleted with Qi. So sometimes people come to me looking for a Qigong instructor, which I'm happy to do as a standalone thing to teach Qigong. In fact, I'm teaching next week. I think it's Tuesday at 4:30 Eastern, and it's about a 90-minute class. So you can find that on my website or Facebook page and sign up if that's all you're interested in. Totally fine. I teach many people that way. The thing is that what I have found is that not all Qigong that we know about today is equally as efficient and effective at not just letting us feel better, but helping us to actually get better, meaning improving our physical conditions. And this is improving physical conditions is only part of it. When we are willing to heal things at a heart and soul level, it then allows our body to be healthier and happier. If you think about the difference, I mean, just simply what it feels like to have a lot of tension or stress or anger, you can call that up in your body right now. Call up that feeling of the last time that you were really angry or annoyed. And maybe it's even right now because something happened, earlier today. You can feel that. It has a feeling. You can maybe even feel it affecting you. Sometimes, people sometimes feel tightness in their heart when they get angry or let down or heartache. That's the thing. There's something affecting the body. And there's an energy to that. So while there are styles of Qigong and yoga can get at this, can help the body feel calmer, and reprogram Tai Chi as well. It matters, though, the form that you practice. And what I have found is that Pangu Shenggong is really good and really efficient at not just supporting the physical body and the physical things that are going on. Many of you have heard my story. When I first started practicing, the physical pain as I was experiencing really dropped. Also, for me, I had a chronic condition that isn't so easy to solve from Western medicine or Chinese medicine, and that's high blood pressure. And for me, it responded, that condition responded fairly quickly to Pangu Shenggong, which was pretty cool. It can be longer to untangle that. But what happened, though, over time is that I started to have more patience at home. I started to have more patience at work. I started to have a more open heart and more grace for the things that were happening, the things that I had done, the things that I said, that afternoon, one afternoon. I wasn't holding a grudge against myself or anyone else so much anymore. It didn't happen instantly, but I started to see windows of possibilities for letting go of things. I wasn't replaying conversations in my mind so much. And I didn't even intend for that to happen. And this is how I know that this is a powerful form of Qigong, because I didn't even know that could be a side effect. The practice is deeply rooted in kindness and benevolence. And what I have found is it has spiritual guidance in the practice. Certainly a sincere invitation to take kindness and benevolence as basis for all that we do, and take authentic words, authentic kind thoughts as the foundation, as well as friendliness. Hang on. Talking, take my voice. This teaching, that's the basis for it, is one of the things that sets it apart from other practices. And there is a sincere wish for the practitioner to move towards doing that more often. taking kindness and benevolence as basis, and being very authentic with their words, very honest with their words, and very kind with their words, to develop a compassion that is quite broad and, quite broad and deep, forgiving. That is not always so easy to do. And what I have found is that when we have support to do that, along with this practice that works in spite of us, in spite of the thoughts that are in our heads, we can make some pretty amazing progress with our health, with our relationships, and our anxiety. And most of you who are here listening to this, or who will listen to this, know or respect that staying in a stressed out state, or a highly resentful state, or a highly judgmental state, whether these are for yourself or for other people, staying there for a long period of time has a cost to health. And I know that it did in my health. It did in my happiness. And it is, I can honestly say that things continue to get better and better with this practice and with the expansion of my own heart. So as I'm talking about this, many times people know that there's something in their life that's keeping them from being calm, from having a calm heart. And it's not, there's no judgment there that is the case, because you are human, and that is part of it. And that is something that we work with in the program, not from a moral place, not from this place of ethics that if you can't say something nice, if you can't say something nice, you should say nothing at all. I'm sure we learned that, heard that growing up. Yeah, it's actually good advice. However, not saying it is not as freeing and as healing as not thinking it in the first place. And again, there's nothing bad or wrong if that is something that you still struggle with. Negative thoughts, for example, angry thoughts, anxious thoughts, worried thoughts. Nothing bad or wrong about that. It is human. However, you may be interested in not living there so much, or at least being able to transform it into something that's of peace and calm and grace. And this affects health, which is, why so many times when I used to rent space from a doctor who did a lot of work with autoimmune conditions. And he would send me clients because he was hearing in his continuing education classes that people with chronic conditions, autoimmune, cancer, etc., needed Qi Gong because they were so depleted, and Qi Gong was a good way to get at it. So, which is great. The thing that I find, because a lot of people come to me and they say they've already been doing Qi Gong, and they, I already know Qi Gong. Qi Gong is a big, broad category. If you've taken my class, I usually will say this in the class. It is like saying food. My first teacher gave me this analogy. So food is also a broad category, and it can mean many different things. It can look like many different things. And foods have different purposes in the body. And Qi Gong is kind of a new term from what I understand. But loosely translated, it means the cultivation of life force, of energy. But there are different schools of it. So there are Qi Gong that work for like intuition development. There are Qi Gong that work with healing. So acupuncture falls under this category. A lot of Qi Gong that's out there that you find on the internet, people are teaching in in community centers, is a healing type of Qi Gong. And that's the original intention of the forms. There's, as I mentioned, spiritual healing. There's martial Qi Gong, being able to have more control over the damage you do to someone else and what kind of damage someone does to you. You can, by training a certain way, there's not so much of that left in the world. Tai Chi would be the closest thing, but a lot of the original intention in Tai Chi has been lost in some of the teaching. Not all. There's some really great schools and out there for sure. And I surely am no expert in in Tai Chi. I do practice it daily. That is another story. And there's sort of a religious Qigong. The form that I am such a fan of because it saved my life in a few different ways is Pangu Shen Gong. And it's called a Shen Gong because it cultivates more than just Qi and really falls into all those categories that I was just mentioning. And that's why it has this, it's a Qi, there is the moving form particularly would be a Qi Gong. But it is also much deeper than many of the practices that I've encountered out there. And again, I don't know if it's the best thing out there. I just know that it's the thing that has had the most impact in my life from the things that I've tried. And I tried a lot of things, spent a lot of money before I was really making progress in my health, my well-being. I was so closed down for so long. I had no idea what joy really was. I did not even know it was missing from my life. And even as I started to feel better, that still took some years to realize, when it would come up and I would feel it and there'd be glee and silliness and, oh my gosh, that's joy. Happiness, I kind of understood that, but anyhow, that's another side. So the thing about practices, yoga was really helpful for me before I found Qigong. I relaxed during the time I was in that class, which was not happening in my life at all. For me, though, when I left yoga, I didn't carry the effects with me. I was so depleted that what was happening in the yoga class, I wasn't able to translate it into my life. Once I started to practice Qigong, that changed, and I began to get more out of yoga practice. But yoga on its own, for me, did not get me there. I was mentioning too that this practice, you could say that it has some martial ideas in it, in that it really helps us, which is different than other Qigong that I've encountered, to immediately be grounded and rooted. And if we don't have that, when we study spirituality or we try to apply stress management skills, there's just not enough to anchor it in. So many times when people start to practice and they get the things out of the way through working with me through the medical Qigong practices that I do with them and with the group, they find that interventions start to work that weren't working before, or they get really clear, like, I'm wasting my time and money on this one, but this is really helpful. Or they go back and read a book that they read some time ago about relationships or about a spiritual practice, or Eckhart Tolle book. And it was like reading a completely different book when their chi was higher and their heart was more open. So, I know that it can sound like for some folks, it might sound kind of woo-woo, right? That I keep talking about energy and heart opening and that's healing. And for many of you, that's not a stretch, and you get that. Maybe your own religious or spiritual tradition, had that as a part of it. So when we combine a heart-opening practice, so compassion, building, having grace, forgiving self and others without concern for whether you are forgiven. Ooh, that's hard. It's hard. Non-attachment, not being concerned about the outcome of things on a micro level. All of these things are, we can read about them and study about them, and we can really want that in our life. I would really like not to take other people personally. for example. That's the one I love because, like, logically, we know we shouldn't take what anyone else is doing personally or judge them, right? Because they're on their own path. Or maybe you don't believe that, but if you've studied some spiritual work, you know that tends to be a common theme. Gosh, it's hard to do. And what happens, we get caught up in the judgment or taking something personally that someone does, and there is a life negating effect to that. So we must have a practice in order to heal deeply that allows that ability to grow. And I use the word yi, this intention. I'm loosely translating. If any of you know a lot about Chinese medicine and Chinese healing, you know that I'm using these terms loosely. So, but yi is, well, we'll call it intention or presence. That part must be cultivated too. So we have qi and we have yi, and then we have information. And the information is important. Sometimes we've gotten a lot of that through therapy, or even through spiritual practices. We might get it we might get education for how to eat right that's best for us. Education, information, stretches, different movements. Even taking a class in yoga or Tai Chi could be education, and it could be really helpful. It's just that we need all three, and the Yi and the Qi parts must be pretty high priority and pretty high functioning for the information to really do life-changing work. Now, I'm saying this for folks, like if you've been stuck with anxiety, or you feel it ratcheting up, or something's happened, you're not alone, absolutely not alone. And sometimes we need some support to unravel that stuff that's seeped in. We can do it on our own. It can take a lot longer. I know this from experience, my own experience, meaning that it was really useful to get help sometimes to untangle some of the places that I was the most stuck. And this is what brings me so much joy to do with others now, and to show them how to handle it when they bump up into that vulnerable spot again. Because the deal is here, we teach people how to fish. And I'm not interested in you becoming dependent on me or anyone really. But it is useful to have the support of someone who understands how to hold the space. And it is my sincere wish that you would learn how to hold space for others, because it's healing for you to do that. And it's also a blessing to the others around you. So I'm aware that sometimes when I say these sorts of things, what comes up is, oh, this thing happened to me. It was just so terrible. I'm never going to get over it. I'm never going to forgive it. Or I have this person in my life and he or she is just persecuting me all the time and I'm never going to accept them. Or I'm never going to forgive myself for this thing that I chose, and it led me down this path. And I'm out because I'm just meant to suffer. And I'm exaggerating a bit, but some rendition of that often comes up when I'm talking to folks. And here's the thing: if you really would like to choose to live with less suffering and more happiness, better health, you can have that. And the way to get there is, it doesn't have to be so difficult. It doesn't necessarily have to involve more suffering. The thing is, like, the suffering is how we grow, but we don't need to stay there. We don't need to stay there. So anyhow, the shorter program, it was originally intended for two groups of people. One is a group of people who felt like they knew a lot already. They had done a lot of, maybe they've even done Qi Gong, Pangu or other, or they have a yoga practice or meditation practice. They've studied a lot of spirituality, and yet they still feel stuck or resistant or angry or whatever it is. And I love you, I love you, I love you. I've been there. So that's thus the shorter program to help stick the little stuff. I mean, the big stuff that's in the way. Also, I realized that there were a group of people who may be new to this type of thing, and they're not sure about how it can help them. And the way that the program is structured allows these two groups of people to be together. And, I'm very organic with the groups, and we meet people where they are. And then if folks in this shorter program would like to go on to the intensive longer program, which has more one-on-one time and more teaching as a group, I'm planning to give this first round of people through to apply the cost of this whole program to the longer program if you'd like to do that. May not be necessary. You may not. I mean, that would be awesome, wouldn't it? And it would be awesome if you just wanted to continue working. It's it's useful to keep wondering what's possible, to not put too much judgment on a right way or a wrong way. So I don't think I see any other questions. Let me make sure I covered the questions that came in. So the person that asked the question about the different schools of Qi Gong and how it differs from other practices like Tai Chi, yoga, and meditation, I think I answered that. I feel like I answered that in a few different places. I will say that the thing about energetic practices in general, so Reiki, what is that one? The tapping, emotional freedom technique. There's so many, and they're wonderful. They can be wonderful tools. They are really great at moving energy, changing energy. It's just that they don't. I have not found, and maybe you have a different experience. I have not found that they allow you to build up. And if you're depleted, moving the energy can be great, and that's why you feel relief after the techniques. And believe me, I'm a big fan, so they're very useful. It's just that if you're not finding that you're stepping up the ladder or up the stairs in your evolution, it may be that the depleted thing is happening and there's something in the way that's keeping you from being in a calm and open-hearted and tolerant, resilient state. And that's where we might need help, especially if you've applied those other techniques. Many people find that they work a lot better. They get a lot more out of their acupuncturist after the work that we do and after practicing Pangu Shenggong. Hey, there's Tom. Yes, Tom is an excellent instructor up in, I think you're in Boone. Or maybe you're in Cary. I'm not sure where you are now. Somewhere nearby. So let's see if I answered the other things. Oh, I forgot to speak about people who are highly empathic or empaths. It is such a beautiful gift to be aware of other people's just where they are and their feelings. However, I understand that sometimes that doesn't feel like such a beautiful skill. When you're in a room full of people and you feel everybody and you feel their anxiety, especially because it's resonating with the anxiety in you, or you feel their anger or their jealousy. It is possible to have that gift of feeling other people's stuff and to not have it cost you. Be able to feel it and know what's yours and what isn't, and ground yourself in the earth so that you can let go of what isn't yours and what isn't serving. Some people even report like being bombarded by other people's energy. And the Shenggong that I was speaking of is a really good way to train that. And I have other techniques that are more martial in their origin that can help you not experience other people's stuff as bombardment or overwhelm. So this often, some people don't know that that's what's going on. They just feel very worried about what's going on in the world or what's going on with people in their lives. There's a difference between being worried and having compassion for what's going on with someone else. It's a very big difference. So empathy is very different from compassion. And I'm not saying that one is right or wrong. Compassion, to develop that, not only has less of a cost to you and supports you, but it also supports the others. So, and this is something that we work with more in the longer program, but we're certainly going to touch on it in the short program. So, if you want to know more about that, it's in the link. And I think covered everything else. Again, if you have any questions about anything at all about working with me, learning Qigong, that Qigong, of course, is included in the short program. In the long program, you learn level 1 and level 2. And you can text me through Facebook, message me, or send me an email. And if you really need to, we can set up a time to talk. It's not usually necessary, but I'm happy to do it if it's useful for you. We can text about how to do that. So we have about 15 minutes before I'm going to need to come off of this call, and I lead a group practice for Kongu Qigong with my teacher's daughter at the ranch in California. Like I don't do it with her, but we do it in conjunction. And that's at 8 Eastern, and I have to get over to Zoom to do that. So we just have 15 minutes here, and I would love it if you'd stay for the next 15 minutes and just experience a bit of medical Qigong protocol. And again, I don't know who's listening to this now, and I don't know who will be listening to it later, but it is my sincere intention that even if you come later, that the protocol that I'm going to speak to you through, talk you through, the meditation I'll talk you through will be useful. So be supportive. So if you'd like to participate, you can just take a seat and sit with your palms up. If you want to come back later and do this, it's about 42 minutes in. That'd be just fine. So the seat that you take, let your body be relaxed. You can let your palms just be sitting on your thighs, and they can be up or down. I usually say to people to let them be up. It's been the traditional way that I've been taught for people to receive energy is through palms up. But I know some traditions have it down. If you want to tone it down, it doesn't matter. You can trust it's going to work anyway. You just suspend any disbelief that you might have about whether this will work or not, about whether it will reach you. And just begin to notice the breath. And for this instruction, all you need to do, all I'm inviting you to do is just notice the breath. There's no need to change it or to make it better or deeper, longer, anything like that. Just watch what the breath wants to do right now, naturally. Now, the next few breaths that you breathe in, imagine that you are bringing back into the body any places where you believe you lost something. You lost some energy, you lost power, you lost an opportunity, you lost yourself. Imagine that in this moment that you can actually call that back into the body. And suspend disbelief. And you don't have to think of a specific instance, just have the intention to call back all of your power, all of your energy, all of your wisdom. And just let it fill up any place in the body, any place that might be experiencing discomfort, feels weird. Bring it in. It's enough just to have the intention to call back anything you thought you lost. Bring it back in, remember it, even if you're not remembering it intellectually. Thinking about what may be in the way, whether it's thoughts, maybe the energy of an interaction or an event, whether it happened recently or it happened longer ago. Feels like it got in. It wasn't something that you were just able to brush off. Feels like it's on the surface level, something that maybe irked you today in the last few days. And imagine that there's this gentle breeze blowing all over you that's just clearing that away. And that it's possible to just blow it off. Or maybe you feel like it's a little bit stickier than that and you want to be under a nice warm shower, washing off whatever's left from those interactions. It feels like they started to seep in and irk you, or they maybe were irking you earlier. Each breath lets the water, the air breathe, wash over you and clear it away. Inhale and exhale. Now get curious to see if there's any place something got in deeper. Is there any place that gets your attention when I mention that? Any little itchy spot or tingly spot or dense spot in the liver, between the shoulder blades, the neck, the brain, and the big toe, whatever it may be. Bring curiosity and openness about what this might feel like if it were to change. The space that you noticed when I said that. Is there any place that you're holding something that seeped in deeper? What if it were to change? And just bring in breath into that space. If you're not sure where that might be, just breathe into the heart from the sternum and exhale out in all directions. And as one spot on the body feels complete, you can move to any other spot you feel sensation where something may have seeped in. If you're not sure where it is, you can guess. Where you feel a slight something, that's probably it. If you're still not sure, you can keep breathing into the heart. Now ask your body what you're noticing now. So with all of your body wisdom and your mind, focus on the body. You can inhale through all of the skin, letting yourself have a lot of awareness for how the body feels now, inside and out. Any sensations, any like a toothache or a slight headache or neck ache, itchy. Let's see if we can move the emotion of disappointment a bit. So ask, is there a place in my body that I hold the emotion of disappointment? Or hold a person that's caused disappointment, or you believe they've caused disappointment, or disappointment in yourself, any place where that's held. Again, doesn't matter if you don't think of a place, you don't feel a place. But if you don't know, just breathe in through the nose and let the breath come down into the lungs. And exhale out. So the lungs exhale out in all directions, not just through your nose and mouth, but in all directions. Inhale. You can feel the disappointment as you inhale. Bring light and breath into the lungs, and exhale, release and relief. Exhaling. What if it's possible that you could, in these few minutes, let go of the energy of disappointment? Just for now. Maybe for longer, but at least for now. Inhale. Exhale. What's the first emotional state that you can identify that you would like to feel instead of disappointment? Grace, forgiveness, ease, strength, resilience. Those are all things I'm feeling coming up. You may have different ones. And now breathe that into the lungs. Now breathe in through all of the skin again. And this time, let the breath go down into the feet, into the floor. And do that a few times, inhaling through all the skin, just bringing in, setting the sincere intention to bring in whatever serves you in a way that creates space and healing. And then when you exhale, send the breath down through the floor with no judgment and kindness as you let go of whatever isn't necessary to hold anymore. Whatever might be contributing to any out of balance places. Send the breath down and down. Very nice. And then come back to just regular breathing, noticing the breath. No special technique or visualization, just notice your breath. And as you're ready, you can just open your eyes so that you're sort of looking down, not at the screen. If you're ready, look back up. And sometimes it's useful to note what you feel, if there was any insight, or sometimes people see lights and things like that, and that's all good. If you didn't see lights, it's fine too. People experience stuff in different ways. So let me know if you have any questions about anything. You know how to find me. I have really enjoyed this time. I'll talk to you soon. Find you one way or the other. Bye.